Hello, a very good morning to ladies and gentlemen. You are in the Go Digital Leadership Forum 2020 Digital Transformation on 5D BIM. A warm welcome to everyone for joining us today. I'm Kimmy from Glodon, Singapore, and I will be the host for today. First of all, I would like to extend a special thank you to all of you guys today, including our partners, clients, industry pioneers, experts, gathering here in this high-level communication platform. Go Digital Leadership Forum is a high-impact leadership forum for emerging and established AEC leaders to be connect, inspire, exchange of ideas, knowledge, experience, and expertise of going digital and implementing digital solutions, focusing on digital transformation and utilizing that to increase productivity and competency in using BIM technology in Singapore. Together with ISSFV, Glodon will once again bring together the most influential and brightest minds leaders to explore successful industry practices and the most effective strategies to enable the leaders to take the next step to break through and move forward to the roadmap towards digitalization. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us here. Now is the time to kickstart our today's event. So as you can see from our event agenda, first we will have our welcome remarks by Mr. Joel, our Senior Director of Glodon International. And it's our honor to have Mr. Kuzubun, President of QS Division, Central Management Committee Chairman of Singapore Institute of Surveyors and Valuers, Managing Director of Singapore Turner & Townsend, with us here today and give us an opening speech. Following, we will have our first keynote speaker, Mr. Eugene, Managing Director, Smart City Solutions of Sabana Jurong. We will have speech topic under 5D BIM, the next wave of thought leadership. The second keynote speaker, Mr. Simon, Managing Director of BIMfinity and BIM Tech Solutions, with his speech topic on the evolution of quantity surveyors. And coming to the third keynote speaker, Mr. Andy, Managing Director of Glodon International, with his speech on the practical way of digital transformation on 5D BIM, followed by panel discussion. So today we have Associate Professor Mr. Daniel Wong as our moderator to lead the panel session together with our 4 other panel speakers. Last but not least, we will introduce a new program to everyone here today, the launch of Cubicle's 5D BIM community. So now, let me just remind everyone that, as usual, you may pose your questions along the way while listening to our thought leaders sharing. Simply just type in your questions that you would like to bring up to our panel speakers in the question chat box. And you may also participate in the panel session by using raise hand function to let us know if you want to talk to our panel speakers later. So please stay with us and engage with us. Now, let's welcome our Senior Director of Glodon International, Mr. Joel Ong, to give us a welcome remarks. So, Mr. Joel, please.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Very happy to see that we have more than 120 of you who are already with us this morning. Really appreciate you taking your time. Dear Mr. Kuzubun, President of SISV, our distinguished guests, Mr. Eugene, Simon, and Andy, and panelists, Ms. Christina and Mr. Chandra, as well as our moderator, Professor Daniel Wong, partners and friends. A very good Thursday morning to one and all, and I do hope that the week hasn't engulfed you yet with the blues, but can captivate you with agendas that is exciting and fruitful, just like today's morning session that we have prepared to keep your week entertained. Now, my team and I are extremely humbled and honored to receive the support we have this morning with the many of you who will be giving us 2.5 hours of your time. And I, on behalf of Glodon Singapore, welcome all of you to the second run of Glodon Go Digital Leadership Forum 2020, alongside with SISV in co-organizing this forum for the industry. Now, although I cannot see all of you visually from this virtual platform, but I believe that some of our friends who attended our very first run in 2019 are here with us this morning online. Would you not agree with me that in 2019 Leadership Forum has indeed delivered a high impact and interesting session for emerging and established local AEC leaders to either connect, be inspired, to learn in the exchange of ideas, the knowledge, experience, and expertise in the views of adopting or jumping into the bandwagon of going digital and implementing digital solutions. Am I right? Now, we recap 2019, we had with us Mr. Muhammad Keller from Baustet, who spoke on digital transformation for building lifecycle. Mr. Silas Lowe from RLB, joint managing partner on embracing the inevitable change. Dr. Evelyn Teo on redefining Square One, the future directions in BIM course research and teaching from an academic point of view. And Mr. Tusha Nav on strategic innovation for process re-engineering and digital transformation in soil build. Not forgetting also Mr. Bong, Justin Bong, our very own CTE on the benefits of 5D BIM in construction cost and data management. Now, this year, the forum is pivoted to the industry practices in digital transformation on 5D BIM. And I can never be more thankful for our speakers who have committed to the good cause to share on the insights that seeks to deliver inspiration that would captivate your attention and leave you impacted. Now, Mr. Koo, our GOH, will officially kick off the forum with his opening speech, and thereafter, we anticipate the rest of the other speakers, as Kimi has mentioned, Mr. Eugene Sia, Managing Director, Smart City Solutions, Sabana Jurong, 5D, the next wave of thought leadership. We have Mr. Simon Liu, Evolution of Quantity Surveyors, and Andy Chung, our Managing Director of Glodon International, and how he viewed the practical way of digital transformation on 5D BIM. Now, in fact, I believe to some in this forum, right, a probable wake-up call would have nudged you during these unprecedented times of yet another major viral attack, now sending us into confinement. Prior to circuit breaker, the scramble to move your office to home base, the need to relocate your hardware and such, the bunch of printed hard copy plan drawings to be brought home for some of us, and the negativity that such a situation would bring could be, might be, in a pessimistic outlook. But on the hindsight, what was known to be a slow growth in the digital implementation across the construction industry as compared to last year is now accelerating in its adoption. Businesses are beginning to revisit its processes and evaluate the need to change, building resiliency, understanding its ability to adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining the company's core purpose, while some organizations and companies will recognize the current opportunity to flatten the curve or minimize the impact of the economic downturn by leveraging on technology. While digital transformation is a long-term strategy that will span years, and we are only in the very beginning taking baby steps towards it, we have already started to feel its repercussions, which will continue in the following year, 2021. Now, organizations and companies in the construction sector in Singapore must start looking at undergoing and partaking in digital transformation to remain viable and competitive. With Singapore government's approach with technology playing an important part since its mandate in BIM in 2014, she has encouraged the best-in-class work practice within the built environment to implement a strategy, deploying innovation, and or adopting new technologies to manage your challenges, how to connect construction, moving forward, supporting in funds for digitalization, such as you have the BIM Fund, IDD, PIP. And in March this year, with the announcement of Build SG Transformation Fund, in short BTF, with the effort to further transform efforts within the industry, increasing the support for local SMEs with PSG funding, of which good news here is Glodon is a pre-approved vendor by IMDA since July 2020. Then we leverage on 5D BIM cost management systems platforms that will aid with tracking detailed quantities in accordance to the Singapore QS standard measurements as your design development occurs, and much more in positive outputs. Now, we have seen slightly more than 20 SMEs who have acknowledged the need to ride in the wave of digital transformation brought on by COVID to emerge on the other side of the curve resilient, to be digitally enabled and be ready to capture their share of new opportunities in the ever-changing requirements of the industry. Now, some may ask, why is there a need for digitalization within the construction industry? And even more so as we have experienced during the circuit breaker hiatus in our business that elevates or illuminates the potential fail points in our current traditional processes. What then are the benefits of embarking or implementing, adopting 5D BIM, and why is it crucial in the current practice of a company evolving with time? Now, we can always deliberate on whether we look into the reinventing ways of working, whether we make it a top management supported project, providing vision, resources, structures, and explain the whole entire journey of transformation, to even educating employees in the heart of digitalization and much more. Now, however, these are likely to remain a pure theory if the ways of working do not evolve. Now, digitalization is not only about technologies, it is also about organization, the processes, and people. But even that is not enough. As we shift the company's culture is eventually what really is at stake. In other words, digitalizing a company is about changing its behaviors and providing a renewed purpose and identity aligned with these behaviors in the long run. Now, we have just gone through COVID and we still are in COVID. And how does this current impact from COVID actually shift or reshape or change, rethink and challenge the conventional practice of a QS from paper to screen? And most important of it is staying connected and be timely informed during pre and post tender phases. How do we know the quantified data, and how can we have the quantified data made easily accessible for intercollaboration? The ability for us to track the changes digitally, how we trace these quantities, reverse check, and timely record of measured quantified elements, as well as to embark on the digital cost management platform in 5D BIM from a QS perspective. As Andy made mention last year, in last year's leadership forum, I'm not sure if you do remember, but going digital is changing every industry quickly and irreversibly, as he said. Now, this is the best of times, but the worst of times as well. The best is that we have many cutting-edge technologies emerging from much more than ever before. And these technologies will definitely enhance the productivity significantly and even change the production mode in the industry. But what could be worse is that as business leaders, and Andy said, we fail to see an opportunity amidst our consideration to our business strategies, our organization adjustments, whether it be talent cultivation and operational processes to get an edge in such digital and intelligent era. Otherwise, we might lose the competitive edge which we are currently in, or could be out of the game unconsciously. Now, let me end with this. All major stakeholders share the responsibilities for the transition to digital technology and innovation. The imperatives for each are different. Other industries have shown that innovators and early adopters can build a sustainable competitive advantage. In the construction sector, this is also likely to be the case. Now, over the course of time, these winners of tomorrow will take lead in technological innovation and digitalization. Resisting change is no longer an option. So be blessed with the fruitful forum in the agenda ahead, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joel, for the wonderful sharing. We all agree with you that resisting change is no longer an option, especially in today's rapidly evolving business world. So what exactly happened here in the construction industry, and why the need for digitalization within the construction industry? You might want to have more insights about it. Now, let's welcome Mr. Khoo Zibun, President of QS Division, Central Management Committee Chairman of Singapore Institute of Surveyors and Valuers, Managing Director of Singapore Turner & Townsend, to share more insights with us. Now, Mr. Zibun, please.
Hi, good morning. Thanks, Kimmy. So good morning, our co-organizer, Mr. Andy Chang, Managing Director of Glodon International, fellow QS and built environment professionals. It gives me great pleasure on behalf of Singapore Institute of Surveyors and Valuers and our co-organizer, Glodon, to welcome you to this Go Digital Leadership Forum 2020 entitled Digital Transformation on 5D BIM. I hope that everybody is well as we transited working in a new norm. I believe all of us are working between home and office, and remote working has become a new norm. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Glodon International for the collaboration and partnership with SISV on this leadership forum, which is a second year's effort now. The environment sector is certainly not the only sector that is affected by digital disruptions. From a more optimistic perspective, we call it digital transformation, which I believe it provides opportunity for everyone. And as part of the construction industry transformation map, one of the aspirations is actually to push the Singapore built environment sector towards an advanced and integrated sector. And integrated digital delivery, in short, IDD, is one of the key thrusts alongside with DFMA, Design for Manufacturing Assembly, and Green Building. With COVID-19 situation that all of us were in, it has become a catalyst that pushes everyone into the digital space and speed up digital adoptions, which many of us has resisted for years. From our daily lives, such as e-banking and transaction, online shopping that many not comfortable in doing, but during the COVID, especially during the circuit breaker, that somehow become a norm. And in work, such as working using different communication platforms, and acceptance of online meetings and webinar like this event were something that was quite resisted by many. But however, because of the situation, I think many of us has now embarked as part of our daily work life. And of course, that enables remote working or actually working without boundaries. And collaboration through e-platforms such as BIM and Crowd has become important and essential part of our work life. Indeed, the situation has heightened the urgency to accelerate the digital transformation and adoption. The integrated digital delivery has a direct relevance to today's Go Digital Leadership Forum. And of course, there's also a close relevance when we look at the manpower development and capability building part from the QS professional perspective. Technology and productivities have been added as one of the specialism competency within the SISB professional competency standards, as well as the competency under the skill framework for quantity surveyors, which actually we worked along with BCA to develop. This is also in line with the SISB action plan for the ITM, which includes adopting technology and building new capability for QS professionals. I believe that as part of the digital transformation, the technology will certainly help us to do things differently, increasing productivity, such as quantification, which is very close to heart for many QS, adopting digital platform to help us draw out more values on the data through data analytics and streamlining of our work processes. However, the roles as a financial and contracts gatekeeper embed with a strong financial knowledge and contractual knowledge which is required throughout the different stage of the development projects or any other projects, remains and will not be replaced by digital. It is therefore important for us to stay ahead of the curve to embrace on technologies such as 5D BIM to enable us to enhance the value in our role while we continue to apply our core professional knowledge to undertake our work. I'm very encouraged to see a good participation with representations across different spectrum of the QS profession and fellow built environment practitioners. Among us, there are many senior practitioners as well. So from the SISB front, it's always our aspiration to reach out and embrace all our QS practitioners across the market and encourage them to be part of the institutions. And I personally certainly welcome you to join us if you have not. In conclusion, I'm certain that we will learn from the esteemed speakers and panelists lined up for today's forum, and I'm sure that there will be great learning opportunities amongst the participants as we embark onto the digital transformation journey together as a sector and QS fraternity. With that, I wish you a pleasant and fruitful forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zibun, for the wonderful sharing on industry practices in digital transformation. That's a very forthright and give us a broader view on the latest happenings in the industry. So we shall look more in depth to the industry practices in digital transformation on 5D BIM. We will have now our first keynote speaker, Mr. Eugene, Managing Director of Smart City Solutions of Sabana Jurong. He will give us his speech on the topic of 5D BIM, the next wave of thought leadership. So, Mr. Eugene, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Glodon for inviting me to give this talk today. And it's entitled, the 5D BIM, the next wave of thought leadership. 2 years ago, I was given the opportunity to share with everybody on how I thought the QS fraternity is going to evolve because of the change in computers, Moore's law, if you can recall. So today, 2 years later, I'll be able to give you some examples of how, firstly, as a company, we have actually brought ourselves to the next stage, and as QSs, how we actually practicing in the digital world. So yes, a little bit about company. Moving forward, A-team. So we all are always looking at how we can produce an A-team, okay, in terms of ensuring that we give the best to our clients, the best options to our clients, but yet also being able to work and keep up with the designers as quantity surveyors, and also because design changes very, very fast. In fact, when the architect has designed something, he passes to the engineers. If it's not concurrent engineer design, by the time it hits the QS, it's probably about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, probably outdated. So the new norm is that in digital is that everything happens concurrently. Okay, everything happens concurrently, and when we're talking about platform, we're talking about softwares and hardwares that are able to look at sustainability and climate change information all within a platform itself. And you know what, projects are getting more and more complex. So it is not a situation whereby we can. It's not as business as usual. What has brought us here will not be necessarily able to bring us there for the next 10 years. There's so much things that actually having now. So in terms of understanding what is things like sustainability, how it's affecting us, it's something that we need to embrace and also understand. And this is an example of how the 17 Sustainable Development Goals will affect the design, and how will this actually affect the QS fraternity. So I'm thinking that everybody knows about IDD now, okay, and everybody knows that the different stages of IDD in the construction industry, right? And this is the 4 stages. So I'll just caveat that this is a given. But what I am seeing is the first point is that I think there's going to be a difference between how we manage projects, because now we have the IT team, okay, those guys that do the laptops, the softwares, install QB costs for you. Then you have the project team, us QS architects, doing the work. But there's a central team now. Those are very specialized in looking on supporting softwares, getting us the right tools, right efficiency, right processes. How do you can work with the vendors to get the best value for us? And giving, maybe Andy and Joel will be able to give us a 20 to 30% discount, um, because why, we're coming together under um, um, a group pack relationship. So someone must be able to, or a team must be able to look at all these, because why, not only are designers looking into that, whereby they are looking at, say, enterprise business agreements, but I think as QSs we need to have that sort of understanding and thinking to be able to come and bring all these together. Now, on top of that, we have this thing on common data environment that we need to understand, and looking at and working with different ISOs like the 19650, and I will go into that a little bit in detail later. We also need to know about analytics, how we can actually use data to improve our services, and I'll also come to you later. So this vertical tech understanding has to be able to sit on these horizontal platforms, whether it's a CDE platform, an ISO platform, or a data analytic platform. But and that also means that there are different types of people coming together, for this tech. This specialized QS will be probably 60, 70, 80% tech, right? 20% QSPP, still doing QS work, but he's going to be very knowledgeable, a deep dive into using technology for the work. Okay, that means this QS is able to look, in terms of into strategy, manuals, capabilities, scope of works for digital quantity surveying, BIM deployment, and so on and so forth. So it's not just QSPP he's looking at, but on how a QS can survive and work within these processes, digital processes, e-processes in the digital design world. Because why? A lot of the designers are moving to this thing called the common data environment. Okay, that's what supports the 19650. Okay, and it means that we are all within one environment that we can do concurrent design engineering. We'll be able to look at information that's changed. We are kept informed, and we have a single source of truth. Okay, single source of truth. Many softwares are out there. We have the BIM 360, for example, from Revit for collaboration. You have the BIM Cloud from Archicad, i.e. Graphisoft. You have ProjectWise from Bentley, right? And basically, the ISO 19650 supports all these. Now, the 19650 has evolved, okay, from 2007, from its British standard or public available standard 1192 to where it is now, which is an international ISO standard. But this means that if you understand this, get a certification on these, you'll be able to work in overseas projects or even inter country projects. One, for example, in Malaysia and Singapore, there may be a requirement for 19650. You will be able to operate in these sort of environments. Not only as quantity surveyors, we will be able to work in these projects, because all these workflows will actually change, right? It's digital, right? Processes may also change. So we need to be hands-on and understand how this actually affects us. You may be a QS in a cost manager in the client, right? You may be a cost manager in the contractor or even subcontractor. So you must be able to know how all these will actually change our different processes. So this is my certification, and we did an exam together with I think later you will speak to Chandra in the panel session. This is actually a test that you have to take, and it's actually quite interesting. It actually opened my mind and eyes a lot more on how BIM is actually working and how BIM will actually affect the processes in a collaborative environment for designers, project managers. In this case, also is the quantity surveyor. This also means that in the new world, the way we work is also very different. We will be able to work digitally. One avatar may be in Japan, another may be in Singapore, another one is in Thailand. You will be all brought into the same environment. If you see the show by Steven Spielberg, Ready Player One, this is like it, and you can see you can do measurement, you can do annotation, you can keep notes. For example, you can keep notes and not enough clearance. So it's a new environment. We're going to be it's actually changing the way we work, live, and even include play. So as you can see, this headphones if you play Counter Strike or any of those first shooter game, we know about this because we will be able to communicate with our friends. Um, uh, so this is a good example of how we can work in the construction environment using such tools. Okay, a bit more to quantity surveying. um, I'll take it as all these are given. That means you understand what the benefits of QB cost, how we are looking at it. In fact, I'm actually very proud of my QSs. For example, Christina, who we'll be speaking to later. When she first came and joined us, I did tell her that, say, Christina, let's change the paradigm of quantity surveying. Can we don't have color pencils? Can we don't have scale rules? Can we don't have cover meters? Can I just give you a very high powered laptop? Of course, the screens and keyboards if you want, but all the training that you want from a tool, right? And really from everything from the pre-Q list, front end query list, preliminaries, preambles, entire process. I do not want to see a single piece of paper on your desk. Do you want to take the challenge? So that challenge was taken, and right now we are running projects this way as well. So even the day when we were asked to work from home, because things were in the cloud, BIM 360, we were able to extract information, and because we told the client, can the BIM model be designed in a certain way, everything was very smooth, right? It was literally work from home one day, work in the office one day, and then work at home the next. So this is an example of a project whereby, because everything was drawn carefully and properly, we could extract information of it, architectural information, structural information. This is a structural model. We could get information for the curtain wall. What would have taken us, you know, uh, weeks to do, or sometimes days to do, but because of all the different wall types, because it's properly annotated. For example, you see here, AW108, AW112, we'll be able to extract the information and do proper costing pretty fast, even at LOD 100 stage, where we can do dollar per meter square, or in this case, it's probably is a 150. But when you go into 200 to 300, you'll be able to do more and more granular information. But what does it mean? Okay, you can do more VE. So this is a situation whereby VE every week. So now I have one project, right? A school project. We are preparing for value engineering, and it takes several weeks to actually prepare. But go back to the previous slide, because most of it is actually digital, right? We can cut horizontal 2D drawings from the BIM model. VE is almost every week, right? And we actually save 15-20% for the client. But the client says, okay, you saved it. Now I want to take some of the money to get better value, better finishes, better design, and so on and so forth. Sell it for a higher office building. So you know what? We are giving more value to the client, and if it's done properly, where digital comes in to add value, giving more options to the client. That's where I think the value of the quantity surveyor actually comes in. So this in the case is actually looking BIM, using BIM for variations, cost appraisal, cost appraisal reports can be generated, cost plans reports as well, right? And also because everything is all done properly and modeled properly, we can actually tell the computer, Mr. Computer, you've seen me measure it once. Please remember what I do, and then if there's a variation, follow my same steps. Tell me the difference. Or, Mr. Computer, these are the ways I want you to measure when you see floor finishes area, when you see concrete meter cube or slab. You can tell this inside. And Mr. Computer, once I give you and feed you a BIM model, you'll be able to come out with this report for me in minutes, right? In minutes, meaning cost plans that will be able to take months to do can be done very, very quickly in minutes. So the only way to do that is programming, right? And this is an example of how Dynamo is actually used, and all these elements and traits are actually identified up front. So we did actually experiment, and I must say that the experiment worked out very well. We are actually bidding for one or two projects with certain agencies to be able to do this in more detail. But that also means that as QSs, we need to change our syllabus. It's not just contact law and on drawings and all that, but more of probably understanding as an elective on computational BIM, C++, Java, and how we can bring it. How can we work in an environment, for example, in Grasshopper, Rhino, in Dynamo, to be able to interrogate a BIM model and get more information. And this should work on top of a software like Cubicos, so that we'll be able to get information. Of course, we're also comparing other softwares, and so one of them we're experimenting is on Assemble, because the engineers are saying, look, QS, I don't want to rely on you. You still have that. I still need 2 days from you to get the information. Actually, last time was 2 months or 2 weeks. Now 2 days also can't wait. Engineers are saying, I want to get information straight away from the B model, and I don't need you, Mr. QS. Can you do that? So you know what? Autodesk has come out with a software called Assemble that can actually do this, where the control is by the designers. That's the scary part. Okay, but one thing Assemble is not there. It's not like Cubicos that's refined to our SMM, CMS, or CPAT. So well, it's long way to go. But you know what? The scary thing is, designers are already thinking this already, right? So I think we as quality surveyors need to be a little bit more sharper to say, can we go into this? Can we go and do a deep dive into computational, so that we can add a lot more value in terms of value engineering, for example, and also costing. So usage of BIM, usage of ProjectWise is a must. And also because once we go into ConnectX, where designers are able to extract information from the BIM model using things like model checker, that means that the BIM model will be when it's designed or modeled out, it will be in a proper manner, and we'll be able to then make use of it, interrogate it, get our measurements from it, do our 4D analysis on it, and so on and so forth. So I think the question is, who's going to be doing what? Will we be able to have a new breed of QSs to really specialize the way on which they understand BIM and in the digital world? So something which I'm trying to push, even in RICS, to have this not only like smart cities, but a smart QS approach, whereby yes, they still have the fundamentals of the QS practice and procedure, but can we move into this area so that this can be recognized as a profession, because it's going to be a very important profession. This means that they'll take digital technology as a core moving in, but also bringing in things like robotics, software advancement, deep tech, and really come up with a new breed of leadership within the QS fraternity. Why? So what's BAM? BAMB, building as material bank. This is a situation that you can actually build a building, and then 30 years later you want to reverse. That means take it down like Lego pieces and then bring it to another place and rebuild it up again, right? So it's something that we will be able to because in the BIM model it's all done properly, and it's all, for example, linked up to 30 years, 40 years of record by blockchain and so on and so forth. But you know what? We'll be able to come out with a good way of tracking these materials. What's the carbon footprint? What's the embodied? What's the operational? And it's really opening up the what quantity surveying is what we do. Can you imagine cost plan plus carbon plan? All can be done. So I felt that this period with COVID-19 is actually a catalyst that actually pushed us to adopt all these digital client. Last time project meetings, you need to travel 1 hour to go and just speak for 10 minutes, and then after that travel back and sit there for 2 hours. But now, we are doing online. We can actually do things concurrently as well. So the new norms will be things on sustainability, carbon plan, and plus cost plan. How can the QS actually look into life cycle costing, but in terms of materials? Okay, and also do things faster. NFS, need for speed. Just now I just showed you an example. How you know, like as how because we use computational, we can get information much faster. Because why, projects are just getting more and more complex. And that's where the money is to be made, complex projects, if you know how to manage that risk. And for the QSs who are, you know, in the FM trade, I mean, this is nothing new, this is on digital twin, but it also means that, you know, we are going to be moving towards a new era of keeping information. Imagine this is digital Singapore. Anyway, this is digital Singapore. Okay, remember this? All right. So you'll be able to do some path analysis, you'll be able to do things like camera, traffic analysis, and so on and so forth. This is asset monitoring. All our lifts are put within digital Singapore. We call it VR City, asset monitoring, agent infrastructure. But what I would like to do is, man, just stop here. Can you imagine whole of Singapore? Let's say all the QS firms come together and say, let's work together. Okay, I have all my piling depths for all these projects. I have costs for all these projects. I know why my cost is high and low, and you know, and we actually form a digital cost map for the entire part of Singapore. Now this is going to be very, very I feel it's going to be a very powerful tool, because you know, everybody comes together. We know for a fact it's going to be 45 meters deep in terms of power length here. Quite to a certain extent, you don't need to assume a 60-meter piling depth. And it's going to be, I feel if we have a repository of this type of digital twin of Singapore for costing, it's a, you know, something quite powerful idea for RICS and ISISV coming together, right? So the rest is on simulations, you know. But again, my point to this is, can we do a digital twin for Singapore for costing, where you have all these costing for these different projects, having, you know, all the different cost analysis, TPIs, TPI'd, you know, and be able to present that. All right. So this is the end of my presentation. And again, Andy, Joel, gang from Glodon, thank you for inviting me. Really appreciate this time, and I hope you enjoyed the sharing. So see you everyone. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Eugene, for the in-depth sharing on industry challenges. Give us an in-depth view on the new norm and how to move from inception to completion and beyond. So, well, right now here, we can see we have 180 audience with us online. So actually today we have quite some numbers of our audiences are from QS profession or from QS background. I believe you might want to hear more from a QS perspective on how can QS stay relevant and be part of the 5D BIM digital group. Now let me introduce the next keynote speaker, Mr. Simon, Managing Director of BIMfinity and BIM Tech Solutions. He will elaborate more on the topic of the evolution of quantity surveyors. So now I shall pass my time to Mr. Simon. Mr. Simon, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So first of all, I would like to thank the event organizer of inviting me to take part in this forum, and I truly feel grateful for it. And before starting my topic today, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce myself and our companies. My name is Simon, the Managing Director for both BIMfinity and BIMTech. I would classify both companies as SMA company. I'm guessing why am I invited today mainly is because many SME QS consultants or companies are facing difficulties in transforming into BIM. We are very fortunate that we see the results of the persistency of us to participate in the BIM process as a QS. I started my practice as a conventional QS as well. I used scale ruler before. I used point-to-point measurements from CAD drawings before, and slowly now we are able to extract the quantity straight from the BIM model. And so I would like to share my thoughts on how do we evolve from a conventional QS to a BIM compliance QS. So the topic that I want to discuss today is the evolutions of quantity surveyor. I'll begin my topic with the first chapter, the current major BIM usage in the industry. So in the current market, we have a few major functions that always be practiced in a BIM process. So the first functions, the visualizations. BIM tools enable proper project planning and visualizations at the pre-construction stage. 3D visualizations and the simulations of the surface allows the client to have a post-construction visualizations that will facilitate easy modifications before the constructions. For clash analysis and coordinations, BIM facilitates effective coordinations between trades and subcontractors that allow internal and external clash detections. For example, will there be any conflict between RC beam and ducting? Is there sufficient of headrooms? BIM facilitates proper planning before on-site constructions, and unexpected problems or last-minute modifications can be prevented. For project sequencing and scheduling, apart from the advantage of saving costs or expenses, BIM tools actually help to save time by lowering the lifespan of project cycles and get rid of any setbacks in the construction scheduling. I believe everyone know that what is a CDE, Common Data Environment. The CDE is a tool to use to collect, manage, and share model, non-graphical data, and all documentations. So basically, it's an information shaft to connect all the parties that involved in the same projects, acting as a single source of truth for the building specifications, development status, and other aspects of the work. To summarize all the functions here, what I've mentioned, none of the main usage of the BIM actually facilitates QS role. So for visualizations, it allows the designer to have more realistic visualizations to the client. The power of clash analysis is actually lightens the burden of the project management team to identify the design issues. For the project sequencing, it allows the planner to monitor the progress more conveniently, allows the contractor to visual their logistic planning more realistically. CDE allows to connect all the parties from the project, but none of the main users actually facilitates the QS role. So for the next chapter, to identify the BIM participations area by the QS. So before we start talking about how QS can be involved in the BIM process, let's discuss about the major or common roles of a QS and which roles can be BIM. So as we can see from the slides, the major roles of a QS could be contract administrative, technical and legal advice, and quantity takeoff. Some QS actually believe that if they accept the BIM practice, most of their functions will be automated and it will lead to technological unemployment. I personally think that this is a misconception about BIM, and no single technology can replace human judgment required to offer professional QS service. So as you can see, quantity takeoff is the major roles that it can be BIM, it can be automated. So since we mentioned that it can be BIM, let's look at this simple equation. So cost equals to quantity multiplied by rate. Cost is always the essential result that we want to know. So meaning if we are able to BIM the quantity, we'll be getting the results of 5D. Since we all know that quantity takeoff can be BIM, why don't we BIM this first? So actually every journey shall start from the first touch, right? 5D BIM is the level of BIM implementations that adds the dimensions of cost into the building models. The QS develops a cost database to get integrated into the shared model. Quantity takeoffs, real-time cost modeling, cost planning, and value engineering, therefore be automated. This is because BIM offers the capability to automate, generate quantity takeoff measurements directly from the digital model of the building, a process that traditionally is very time-consuming for QS. And if we are able to BIM the quantity, as I mentioned, QS will be able to apply into the following process. So for the pre-construction stage, we can actually apply into the BOQ preparations, pricing and estimations, feasibility studies or cost analysis. In the post-contract stage, we can apply in the preparations of interim payment, variation handling, materials ordering, submissions of final account. So if BIM is able to facilitate the quantity takeoff, the uncertainties of cost variation will be eliminated. So yeah, and how do we, what is actually the barrier of the QS moving into BIM? As stated here, the first one, 5D software selections and data exchange format. So 5D BIM estimating software and modeling, it produce and accept data input in different formats, which put a risk of the accuracy and consistency of the project data exchange. Second, the standardization challenges. Most of these software vendors do not follow a recognized standard method of measurements, like for example SMM2, where the QS is required to follow a certain standard method of measurements. There's need to convert and tailor the BIM extracts to suit the required presentations, data coding and building system classifications. This lack of a consistency in BIM modeling standards adopted by various estimating software vendors leads to the QS having to conform to several standards, which result in inconsistency and inaccuracies in estimates. Thirdly, high capital investment in BIM softwares. So BIM is highly advanced and very sophisticated information technology. It is indeed a complex workflow that will require quantity surveying firm to commit both time and monetary resources to the training of the employees, purchase and installations of the BIM-oriented estimating software. Some firm may not be financially able to fund the introductions of the BIM, as most quantity surveying syllabus have not incorporated BIM in their programs. So much remains to be done for BIM to gain widespread adoptions and implementations in the quantity surveying practice. The fourth, scale of the exchange. So BIM demands new teaching method. So it's a big change of a culture. So in terms of education, it demands a new teaching method. It's difficult to educate the lecturer due to the rapidly evolving of the technology. And some of the QS is also reluctant to initiate a new workflow, lack of technical expertise as well. So what are the solutions that I can share that, to overcome the challenges? First, I would suggest that to get the right software, research on the software. So in my personal opinion, Glodon Cubicos is one of the best 5D estimating software that able to overcome the mentioned challenges. So by training, project guidance, online support, as well as certifications. So secondly, we shall evaluate the return of investment, ROI. As for the high capital investment, companies should really consider in investing BIM software. Based on my experience, the return of investment is fast. QS firm is now compete for client based on provisional of specialized service in a timely and more productive approach. So those who were left behind will be less competitive compared to their counterparts. And my experience in reductions in a number of projects that they handle, as the clients will more willing to hire BIM-oriented QS, who will offer more customized service, spend less time in the productions of estimates and cost plans. So thirdly, keep the resources or employee up to the date on the latest technology. So by attending seminars, talks, attending trainings in new software. The last part that I would like to share, standardize the modeling requirements to meet the needs of the quantity extractions. So we need to know the modeling rule that allows the quantity to be taken off in compliance to the local standard of measurements. For example, SMM2, SMM7 in UK. So please look at the slides. Let's compare the workflow between the QS, the conventional QS, and also the BIM consultant workflow. As for the QS, so we can see that we always receive the drawings. We receive things from the designers, example, architects, engineers, and then we cross-check on the drawings. We will raise query if any design clarifications needed. For BIM consultant, we receive either drawings or model from the designer. We do the clash analysis. We raise RFI to the consultants. So initially, my company only providing QSing services, and then we slowly venture into BIM as well. So both of these services is in a separate department in my company. So for practicing these two services, I realized that there is a similarity. So, and I start thinking, why do we need to do double work? Why can't we just build one model instead of like, I have to build one model in BIM and another model in Glodon Cubicos. So, and then it pops up that an idea that why don't I combine these two, as both workflow, it seems like it looks similar. So today I would like to share how BIMfinity actually overcome the barriers and set the workflow to combining both BIM and QSing. So we start from receiving drawings or model from the designers. So for the BIM team, we create BIM model to suit the Glodon modeling standards. And then we continue doing clash analysis and coordinations, updates on the model until we get a clash-free and so-called coordinated model. For the QS side, we receive the model done from the BIM team and we import into the Glodon. We do quantity extractions. Then we link to different format or softwares to get different cost analysis or results that we want. So as you can see here, 1, 2, 3. Every steps of here, we actually share the model to the QS to get the quantity. So no longer we need to amend on the 2D drawings and then receive the drawings again, and then we need to remeasure and re-update on our Excels to get the results that we want. So I would like to share on some of our company case study as well. So this project name is called Infineon Tower. It's located in Malacca, Malaysia. So it's an industrial tower building. Contains of 11-story of office, 4-story productions, and 5-story of central utilities building. The gross floor area is about 33,000 meters square. The major scope of work by our company is to build up the BIM model, and we actually build it up to the standard that able to have the quantity extractions from Cubicos. We do the clash analysis and coordinations on site as well, preparations of shop drawings, quantity extractions for main contractor, and finally, we actually do a submissions of the as-built model to the client. As you can see, so this is the Revit model. This is the Glodon model. The second case study, this is called Sky Sierra. It's a residential building, contains of 8-story of podium, 1-story of facilities, and 3 blocks of residential tower. The gross floor area is about 270,000 meters square. The major scope of work is actually similar compared to the case study 1. So we are able to provide both BIM and QS service together to our client. So in a conclusion, the global construction industry is moving towards widespread implementations of BIM techniques. With the industry player beginning to hold more talks and seminars about BIM, it is time for the QS to respond accordingly. We QS should start appreciating BIM, understand its potential, developing and employing effective processes and tools to integrate BIM into their current and future professional practice. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll pass back to Kimi.
Thank you, Simon, for the wonderful and forward-looking sharing. We all know that global construction industry is moving towards widespread implementation of BIM technology. However, move towards digital is not a simple task. We truly agree with Simon that QS should start appreciating BIM, understanding its full potential, and integrate 5D BIM into their current and future professional work practices. So now, why 5D BIM digital transformation is the core for many organizations nowadays, and what are the key components that we must be aware of when embarking on the digital transformation journey? Now let me introduce our next keynote speaker, Mr. Andy, Managing Director of Glodon International. He will share with us on his topic of the practical way of digital transformation on 5D BIM. So I shall pass my time to Mr. Andy. And Mr. Andy, your turn, please.
Well, thanks, Kimmy. Thanks for Zibun's opening speech and Simon's and Eugene's presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my great honor and privilege to talk about my personal point of views and some of my team's practice on 5D BIM digital transformation in this forum today. My topic today is the practical way of digital transformation on 5D BIM, because I think many of you guys have ever heard of a lot of concepts. So I would like to talk about the practical ways of 5D BIM transformation. Okay, in recent years, especially past 3 years, this word, digitalization, was so frequently mentioned and discussed together with some other new technological words like cloud computing, AI, big data, almost in all industries around the world. However, I think there are still a lot of people in our industry that haven't got used to the impact from digitalization. And I suppose many people still have these 3 questions in mind. So number 1, why we need to do digitalization? Number 2, what can be digitalized? Number 3, how are we able to do it? Okay, with these 3 questions, let's discuss on it one by one today. So why we need to do 5D BIM digital transformation? Is it really useful for me and for my team? According to a report from the World Economic Forum 2018, this top 10 disruptive technologies will be hitting construction industry. Thus far, for the 4 technologies I highlighted in red, I think they are becoming more and more mature in construction industry. And I believe that such technology change in construction will be changing the way we do project cost management as well. So this is the BIM roadmaps that most of us are familiar with. Well, it has been 10 years since BC rolled out the first BIM roadmap in 2010. And thus far, many consultants and contractors have already set up their own BIM teams to handle 3D BIM design and 4D technical planning and scheduling. But 3 years ago, this roadmap was upgraded to IDD, Integrated Digital Delivery, which aims to upgrade BIM and digital technologies adoption throughout the project whole life cycle. As we all know that IDD is also one of the 3 components for construction industry transformation map here in Singapore. So for IDD, it covers, as we all know that for IDD, it covers these 4 stages from the digital design to the digital asset management. And it is also enabled by BIM and other new digital technologies as well, aiming to connect the whole life cycle, all stakeholders, all processes to achieve high quality, both digital and physical project delivery through BIM and other digital technologies. So cost management is part of the value chain and plays an important role as well. So this digital trend is also impacting on our project cost management processes. Well, so why we need to do 5D BIM digital transformation? I list out a few points. Point one, the BIM design has become the current rapidly uprising trend in the industry and will be the mainstream in 10 years. Some people may have a question that, is this so soon? If we look back for the CAD design, AutoCAD initial release was 37 years ago in 1982. And it takes around 30 years for CAD design to replace the manual design around the world. And it comes to Revit. Revit initial release was 20 years ago in year 2000. So I suppose BIM design will become the mainstream in 10 years as well. If we can't get us well prepared in BIM adoption in 5D cost management, we will face more challenges in next 5 to 10 years. And point two is that currently project cost data is residing and being managed in many different forms and files, which is not structured and very tedious to be mined and utilized. And point three is that currently multiple historical projects cost data not being managed in a common data environment. And so it's not easy to manage and reuse this historical data when necessary. And point four is that cost data information is not being conveyed to one another among project parties in a timely and productive manner. So it is difficult to achieve collaboration in real time for different team members within own organizations or external stakeholders from upstream to downstream. But now the industry is moving towards a whole life cycle IDD. So these four challenges are also driving us to go 5D BIM digital transformation. Then before we talk about what can be digitalized and how we are able to do 5D BIM digital transformation, I think it is necessary to understand where we are now. To understand the situation of 5D BIM digital cost management implementation in the industry, my team helped me to do a survey on it before this event. So now let's have a look at the interesting results together. So the questions of the survey are mainly focused on BIM, quantification, and costing job. And there are totally 103 respondents attending this survey. For the company size, over 50% of the respondents are from those companies with over 100 employees. And for the business type, 74% of them are from contractors and 20% are from consultants, and the rest is from developers. And for the project type, 80% of them are involved in public projects, while only 19% are involved in private projects. So based on the information from these two charts, so 74.8% of respondents are still doing QS job based on 2D converted PDF or 2D CAD drawings. And 57% of respondents are still doing quantity measurement job manually and with Excel. So this chart shows that for the past 3 years, 37% of respondents didn't involve in any BIM projects. And 26%, less than 20% of their projects had BIM requirements. And for the rest, 45%, over 20% of their projects they have done had BIM adoption requirements. Well, these two charts shows that for those BIM projects, 66% of respondents cannot receive any BIM models during pre-contract stage, and 57% of them cannot receive BIM models during post-contract stage. So based on this survey results, I think it is now still the transitioning period for QS to adopt the BIM. This chart also shows that over 80% of respondents companies haven't made any clear corporate strategy on 5D BIM transformation. And this chart shows that almost 70% of respondents have ever heard of BIM, but never utilized it in their work. And this chart shows that the confidence level for going digital actually is not that bad. Around 55% of respondents are very confident or confident with productivity enhancement brought by BIM and digital technologies. And only 17.5% of respondents are not confident or not sure. So to sum up, for QS and cost management profession, number one, it is still transitioning to BIM, and 2D drawings adoption still stand a large percentage. And number two, many companies are still doing quantification job manually. Number three, the majority of companies haven't made any clear corporate strategies for 5D BIM transformation, still in early stage. And number four, most of the QS cost managers have ever heard of BIM, but not started to utilize it yet. However, many of them are confident with BIM and digital technologies. So having understood where we are now, then we should talk about what can be digitalized and how we are able to do it. So according to a research report from MIT, these are top barriers for different companies to go digital. It suggests that a lack of strategy hinders early and developing companies on the road to digitalization. And for early companies, the management understanding is also one of the critical important factors. So we can see from here, strategy and leadership are really the critical important factors for digitalization. So software technology is just the second step. So which means that we must get our strategy and leadership digitalized first before choosing any digital technologies. Therefore, I think that strategy, leadership, and technology are three key components for digital transformation. And strategy and leadership drive digital transformation, and technology enables it. For strategy, we have to consider these four components. So business strategy for 5D BIM, you should mesh your IT strategy with your business strategy deeply and in phases. So Rome was not built in one day. And organization upgrading. So take into account if you need to set digital officer, BIM QS, or any other such new positions or new organizations to execute your 5D BIM digital strategies. And for process upgrading, consider to upgrade operational processes change to meet the 5D BIM digital transformation thinking if it's necessary. And for tenants upgrading, need to consider attract and or cultivate 5D BIM and digital tenants are also very necessary. With regards to the digital leadership, it shouldn't be, so for digital leadership, it shouldn't be just the bosses or managers' business, but also all people thinking within your organization. To a certain extent, leadership is just an influence ability. So we should consider these 4 components as well. So CEO mindset, management mindset, digital meeting capability for all team members, and team culture. Most of the time, it is difficult to get out of the comfort zone for early companies to go digital. So creating a positive and continued team culture is also the key for your digital leadership for the long run. In terms of technology, what you need is some real technological partners to help you achieve the goals of going digital transformation instead of some vendors who just show up a few months before your renewal. Besides, building new IT infrastructure, digital workflows, data management standards, and systems to support your transformation also need to take into account. So digital transformation is not specifically about IT or technology. It's about redefining your entire business strategy and leadership as well. Therefore, as a strategy and leadership drive digital transformation, and technology enables it. Now let's have a look at what can be digitalized for cost management business. Based on my team's research and practice in the industry, we do think these following components will be fully digitalized in 3 years. So number 1, quantification, costing, and collaborative processes. Number 2, tender production and evaluation. Number 3, cost-related reporting. And last but not the least, cost data management and collaboration, which incorporates budgetary cost data, contractual cost data, progressive cost data, and final cost data. So later I'll elaborate more about some practical ways of going digital for these areas for next few years. And according to our practice in the industry, some of them have been implemented and some of them haven't been realized yet. Well, for the higher level architecture of digital cost management transformation, our point of view is that it should cover all processes, all elements relating to cost management, and engage all participants in the value chain as well. Technically speaking, it should consist of these 3 layers. So consists of these 3 layers to produce and manage 5D BIM cost data. Technology layer that incorporates BIM graphic technology, cloud computing, big data, AI, and etc. And for data layer that incorporates cost-related data in a common data environment, and business and application layer that incorporates the relevant cost elements like 5D BIM quantification solution, 5D BIM quantification solution, and digital cost management solution. So eventually, digitalization also depends on data. So what is the most important for 5D BIM digital transformation is data production, management, and application. So this SOI, data upgrading, is also the essential characteristics for digital cost management. So what is SOI data? Structural data, online data, and intelligent data. Structured data is a foundation. If you couldn't get structured data, cost data, the data will be still scattered in the 4 corners of your organizations, and you would not be able to do data management and data mining much better in the future. So structured project master data and standards will be the foundation for going digital. Online data is the key. With the maturity of cloud computing technology, it will be realistic to achieve online collaboration, as well as online data production, management, and application for 5D BIM cost management in 3 years. And it will be the key process for cost data management. The third one is intelligent data. Well, the intelligent data should be the goal. With the help of AI and big data technology, obtain and utilize intelligent data to support and better the processes of cost management and decision-making processes will be the goal for going digital. So how a company should plan and implement 5D BIM digital cost management? This is a proposed solution that could be useful for the industry to take a reference. It is a solution with end plus cloud plus big data integrated together. So end here means terminal tools for QS cost managers to make use of for 5D BIM quantification and 5D digital costing and cost management purposes, inclusive of cost models production, quantification, costing, and data interconnection. In addition, these tools can interact with this layer, cloud infrastructure, to store and retrieve cost data as well. Cloud here means the cost data infrastructure for data storage, computing, and online management. Inclusive of data storage, collaboration, data retrieve, and data intelligence, etc. So internal and external collaborations, smart applications, and corporate data production, even industry cost data production will be achieved through this cost data cloud. Also, this means this cloud infrastructure should not only interact with this end layer, but also interact with this big data layer. Big data here means the massive cost data management and applications, inclusive of data classification, data processing, and data analysis. So cost data collection and processing, data governance, data analysis, and data mining, and data standards for corporate data, as well as industry data information can be managed and utilized in this layer. I suppose that this end plus cloud plus big data full digital 5D BIM solution will be progressively mature for industry to use in 3 years. So I hope our developer friends here today don't better not put it in your tender requirements just tomorrow. Well, based on our practice in the industry, we also believe that to implement 5D BIM digital cost management, a 5D BIM cost model specifically for QS cost managers is necessarily needed throughout the life cycle. It is extremely difficult to ask upstream BIM team to pass down a perfect model that meets QS and cost management purposes in current industry practice. However, with a specific 5D BIM cost model that can integrate and interoperate with BIM design models, it would be much easier for QS or cost managers to manage and utilize the project data and cost data in real time. Well, BIM design model to 5D BIM cost model for quantification and costing, this is a scenario that can be digitalized, and I suppose it will become the mainstream for future. However, currently it is still semi-automatic, but I believe full automatic quantification in just a few minutes will be realized in the near future. And then QS will have more time to focus on cost management, contract management, and other more important jobs. As what I have just mentioned, it is still in the transitioning period for QS to adopt BIM. So for downstream QS professionals, either in consultants or contractors, there is a huge challenge from the quality of BIM design models that meet QS requirements. In such cases, besides the feasible BIM cost models I have mentioned, we have also produced a BIM handbook for cost estimating profession, together with the industry players since 3 years ago, which we hope can fill the gap between BIM design teams and QS teams. We hope it can facilitate the 5D BIM adoption for the industry as well. As per talked, now there are still many companies using 2D drawings. So is it possible to utilize BIM technology based on 2D drawings? Based on our practice for past 10 years in Southeast Asian countries, it is also possible to utilize 5D BIM based on 2D drawings, achieving more automation in quantification and linking to digital cost estimation and cost management as well. And this has been proven feasible in many projects by many of our customers for past few years in the region. It is also much better than traditional manual methods, as well as 2D on screen method that many of you guys may be using now. It is good for QS to gradually get used to 5D BIM adoption in such transitioning period as well. So no need to worry about the feasibility of BIM technology adoption based on 2D drawings at all. As it illustrates here, progress claim valuation is also another scenario that can be digitalized with 5D BIM. And through this digitalized process and progressive BIM cost models, progress assessment and payment work will be much more efficient and effective, and reduce communication costs through this progressive visualized BIM cost model as well. So this is another scenario that can be digitalized for team collaboration and digital cost data management. Through one common digital cost management platform, multiple projects data management and multiple members collaboration can be easier to achieve, and the data can be accessed remotely in real time. No longer need to create many working sheets in a great number of Excel forms. It significantly increases productivity. So one of our best users in Singapore, they have used this platform to manage over 100 projects for team collaboration. And more importantly, the continuity of project data can be managed in one common digital platform as well. So as leaders, you don't need to worry about the headache job handover anymore when facing any change from your people reallocation. So all the data is stored in this common data environment. But through the digital cost management platform, centralized project unit rate data library can be built up and accessed and referenced by multiple QS cost managers anywhere, anytime as well. No longer need to create those tedious formulas or functions in many different Excel working sheets every time when you start a new project. So with digital technology, you can also migrate multiple projects cost data to one platform for various types of cost analysis that you need much more quickly, like analyzing costs by elements, by trees, by project status, by interim version, etc. Also, you can gradually build up your own enterprise cost data center in the platform, which will be supporting your faster data retrieve and more efficient and effective decision-making process in the future. Well, in terms of tender evaluation, most of companies are doing it in Excel now, which we think are not that productive and efficient to do cost analysis, cost comparison, and evaluation reports. Based on our practice in Malaysia for past 2 years, by digitalizing tender evaluation process, consultants are able to quickly generate the differences between the consultant pre-tender estimate cost schedule and tenders, different tenders cost schedule for lump sum costs, as well as each costing bill. So which is much faster than Excel and much more automated as well. In addition, with the e-tender digital evaluation system, consultants can also quickly generate the differences between different tenders' cost schedule, not only for lump sum amount, but also for different costing bills. It's also very fast and automated as well. In addition, consultants can also quickly generate the differences by percentage, like 15% or 10%, for different costing bills between the consultant's cost schedule and tender's cost schedule. And different percentage can also be displayed in different color. So without such a digital tool with more automated and productive features, I think QS have to import all tenders information and cost data to Excel. So many formulas or functions to have to be created to process the data for getting your own cost data analysis and tender evaluation reports, which I do think is much more time consuming and not intelligent at all. So digitalization really helps in many aspects. Well, I have just given a few examples and practical ways for 5D BIM digital transformation. However, for any transformation, we must set goals to guide us to the success. The nature of digital transformation should eventually optimize the efficiency of resource allocation and enhance corporate competitiveness. Otherwise, it will be meaningless to transform. And for the process of digital transformation, we have to achieve goals step by step and in phases. So for the digital goals of 5D BIM, I suggest to set from these 3 key aspects. So better customer experience, higher operational efficiency, and lower operational cost. And pay close attention to visualization, automation, and collaboration. Also, what's the most important part is the data, your cost data, enterprise data, cost data. Well, a short sum up for my presentation today. Strategy and leadership drive digital transformation, and technology enables digital transformation. With this, it comes to the end of my presentation. Wish everyone a great success in your 5D BIM digital transformation journey. Thank you so much for listening. I'll pass back to Kami. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andy, for the impressive sharing on 5D BIM digital transformation. I'm sure that many of our leaders here are also sharing the same doubts as Mr. Andy, that strategy and leadership drive digital transformation. And in the first place, definitely the right technology solution enables digital transformation. So now we will move to the highly anticipated panel discussion session. I know many of you guys actually can't wait for this session to be started. Before we move to that, just let me remind everyone one more time, please feel free to engage with us and chat with our panel speakers. You may send us your questions by following 4 steps. Step 1, click at the control panel and look for the question chat box. Step 2, type in your questions in the question chat box. and complete your question by click the send button and wait for the questions to be answered later. So besides this, you may also participate in the panel session by raise hand function if you want to talk to our panel speakers. So please feel free to flood us with your questions or just alert us if you want to speak to our panel speakers directly. I will keep it short. Now I shall pass the time to our panel speakers. So today we will have our Associate Professor from National University of Singapore, Prof. Mr. Daniel Wong, who will be representing ICSV to lead today's panel session. Together, we have our 4 other panel speakers, Mr. Chandra, Principal BIM Manager of Sabana Jurong, Ms. Christina, Digital QS of Sabana Jurong, Mr. Simon, Managing Director of BIMfinity and BIM Tech Solutions, as well as Mr. Andy, Managing Director of Glodon International. So, Prof. Daniel, your turn, please.
Hi, thank you very much, Kimi. Well, good day, everyone, and welcome to this panel discussion. I'd like to start off with a very simple question to all our panel speakers. And the first thing, of course, we are currently in a pandemic. So I'd like to ask this question. How does BIM technology help firms recover from this pandemic? And how is this impact, especially in the areas of improvements in productivity, savings in cost and time? So let's go through our panel speakers. Perhaps I will start off with Christina. Christina, are you able to share your thoughts on this?
Yes, hello, I'm Christina. Okay. On this issue, sorry. How can we increase our productivity? Firstly, if we were to use the QS software, okay, we can import the BIM model and extract the quantities, and this process can shorten the time taken for quantity takeoff compared to the conventional way of taking off quantity from physical drawings and using scale rules. So I personally have experienced that, and I can see about almost 50% time shortened in quantity takeoff timing. So I really felt that this can increase the productivity.
Right, thank you for that. Chandra, your take on this?
I think digitalization has been promoted by Singapore government, especially in our built environment industry, and QS being one of the integrated stakeholders of the built environment industry, have an advantage, as Christina pointed out, that the designers, let's say the architects and the engineers who have already created the design intent, which is a form of a 3D BIM model, which contains the information, which is from BIM. This is very important from the QS point of view. So even though the designer might not have done the model to suit the needs of the QS for his purposes, like quantity takeoff and all that, with a little bit of customization or programming, it is possible to do it. I think Andy already did talk about that. So this will increase the productivity to such an extent that what used to take a few days or a couple of weeks can be done within a day or a few hours. This is my take on that.
All right, thank you. And Simon, your thoughts?
In my point of view, as what Christina have just mentioned, the 5D estimating software can actually allow the quantity takeoff to be done faster. So in addition, some of the BIM tools, like for example, the common data environments, so it is a platform or the online communications tool to connect each other during this COVID time. So for example, I have a projects in another state, so we don't have to travel like half a day to go and back. So it actually saves more time and also the cost, traveling cost as well. Yeah. So I think this is my thought.
Right. Andy, your input, please.
Thanks, Prof. Well, helping firms recover from the pandemic impact is not a small topic at the moment, right? So
Yeah.
I think BIM is just one of the digital technologies that may help you if you use properly for the long run. But it is not as rich as Singapore government. So, but I believe that everyone has realized that we have to go digital for many aspects in such pandemic time. And now I think almost all bosses are thinking about cash flow and new projects tender in such trying period. So in a way, BIM and other digital technologies adoption could be helping you in this regard. In addition, I think the biggest benefit that BIM technology brings to construction is visualization. Through this visualization, project schedule and cost can be viewed and shown visually. And this also significantly reduces the communication cost and even labor and material waste. Also, with such a visualization, all stakeholders can incredibly improve their customers' experience, internal collaboration, and communication efficiency when using BIM properly and proficiently. And eventually, it will be a cost saving as well. However, we must be aware of one thing. It takes time to reach a final success. It may increase the cost a bit at the early stage, but we also need to ask ourselves one question. What would be the cost of not using BIM? How much would be the time waste, material waste, rework, etc.? So going BIM and digital will be absolutely the mainstream next 5 years. So how fast you are well prepared will be affecting your business a lot for the near future as well. Okay, that's my input.
Wow. That is quite some good thought-provoking answers. And I think the panel speakers have shared tremendous amount of thought in this question. We are in a pandemic. We are in very trying situations and environment today. So let's look at our chat box and see what are the interesting questions some of our participants are asking. Now we've got one question here from Siu Kwan. Thank you very much, Siu Kwan, for the question. How does 5D BIM digital cost management system support monthly main contract progress claims and subcon progress payments, taking into consideration like diverse payment templates for the various trades like RC works, that's reinforced concrete works, wet trades, aluminium cladding works, M&E works, etc., etc. So I'd like to put that question perhaps to Christina for a start. Christina, any thoughts?
Okay, that is on the progress payment. Okay, firstly, if using Cubicos software, okay, we can do up firstly the format of this progress payment. Okay, with that, the quantities can be linked from the model, and the cost, the rates can be extracted from the library, and this full set of document can be in this Cubicos TBQ module. Now, when the contractor, when they submit progress claim, they will submit with their BIM model, highlighting what they are claiming for the particular month. And when we receive and import that model into this software, okay, it can read, and the information can be linked into this report. And with that, we can also use this Cubicos software to highlight, okay, for that particular month, how much and the total amount, okay, due for that month. And this can be imported. Once it's done, can be exported to Excel as well to tailor to different clients' format, because I've experienced, okay, different clients, they may have different formatting. So we have this flexibility using this method.
Right. How about Simon? You've been using BIM software. How do you deal with the same question on progress claims payments?
Okay, for my point of view, the whole processes, for example, like progress claim, doing the final account certifications, evaluations, is still the same method compared to the conventionals. But with the implementations of 5D, actually I mentioned one of these equation in my previous slides, which is cost equals to quantity multiplied by rate. So there are things that we cannot be BIM. So for me, I will actually focus on this quantity factor that it can be BIM by using softwares, for example, like cubic cost. Once we are able to actually extract the quantity from the model instead of measuring by scale rule, importing into Excels. So this process actually fasten a lot compared to the conventional measurement method. So, and after we extract the quantity, like as what Christian have just mentioned, we then have to just link to the different format or different software to get a different output that we want. For example, like cost plans or either progress payments, final accounts. Yeah, so I think the keywords will be how do we BIM the quantity. Yeah.
Right. Wow. So you've heard it here first. Insights from two professionals who are actually using the BIM software to solve and give solutions to some of these progress claims and progress payment issues. I'd like to go on to the next question from our chat box. We have Louis. Louis has asked a couple of questions here. Is 6D BIM coming into, it will be coming soon? I'd like to put that question to perhaps Chandra and Andy. What are your thoughts? Do you think 6D BIM is going to be coming soon? Do you think that's going to be faster than what 5D is at the moment? Chandra, your take?
Okay. I think perhaps the audience here are quite aware that the D stand for a dimension, like we have 3D, which I think everybody understand. 4D is another dimension like the time, which is added to the BIM model. Then 5D is the cost information, and the 6D, according to the popular belief, is about sustainability, or it could be FM. So because some countries 6D is BIM FM. If I can take the liberty of talking a bit on the ISO 19650, which is an international standard for project delivery using BIM, because if you look at the title, it says BIM is required to deliver your project. So it talks about the project delivery from inception to completion and beyond. So when I say and beyond, it is after the project has been constructed by the contractor, handed over to the owner, and the owner need to take the facility or the asset, we term the built asset. It could be infrastructure like a road or a bridge, need not be always a building, and he need to maintain until its life cycle, right? So if we are referring to 6D BIM as the BIM FM, facility management, yes, it is going to be here. In fact, there are a lot of solutions available in the world which uses the BIM model as a base for doing the maintenance, the managing and running of facilities. In fact, I would be proud to say here that Surbana Jurong has developed its own facility management software based on the BIM as the base. So normally facility management may not require a BIM model. It requires all the information of the equipments and components which are installed, which need to be managed, which need to be maintained on a regular basis. whether it's preventive maintenance or whatever it is, right? So
Right.
using a BIM model, it's much more easier because the maintenance guy or the technician who wants to actually do the maintenance has to carry his own mobile phone or a iPad or some sort of a tablet on which he can see where he need to go, what he need to attend, and if he don't know how to do it, there will be a procedure and everything listed in his handheld device. So this is very efficient because he doesn't have to run forth front and back to the office to check what he actually need to do.
Okay. Well, how about Andy? Andy, your thoughts on 6D BIM? But I'd like to add on, Andy, do you think that this technology, whether it's 6D or even 5D, is, how is Glodon leveraging on this technology? And do you think that there's this competition may arise from this market?
Okay, thanks, Daniel. So for 6D, to be frank, 6D, I just heard of some information about 6D. Just like Chandra mentioned, it could be for FIM. Actually, 5 years ago, my company also starting the BIM application in FIM. But what we found that there were no mature technologies at the companies in American and Europe. So that's at that time we stopped 6D for the time being. So this is out of my domain knowledge. So I can answer your second question. So how would Glodon leverage our oh, sorry to add. So just now, Luis asked which one will be coming faster, right? 6D or 5D? So I would say that 5D has already come, but 6D is also in the early stage. So like Chandra said, sometimes you may not need the BIM model at all for facility management. But for 6D application, I think it's also facing the same problems for 5D application. So the quality and the accuracy of BIM, the data in the BIM model will be the key. So I think 6D, how fast will it come? It depends on two factors. One is how many companies put it into practice, and secondly, how many software providers put efforts in this 6D R&D. Okay. Right. For Glodon, how would we leverage our technology among other digital solutions, or how we see the competition from the market? Well, I think that technology is only valuable when people are of interest to use it. So otherwise, it's not valuable at all. So our business philosophy is customer-oriented and obsessed. We put 90% of our efforts on customers' requirements because we believe that only customers' perception counts, and we shouldn't be led by competition. We must be led by our customers' requirements. But we do study our competitors on how they can satisfy customers better than us, and learn from there as well. In addition, as I have just mentioned in my presentation, choosing a real technology partner with a strong R&D and service capability is critically important for digitalization. I do believe that because you need to grow with your technology partner together. So I do believe that Glodon is one of such partners. Just for 5D BIM solution, we have more than 200 R&D guests focusing on it now, and we have more than 3,000 software engineers working on other fundamental technologies and digital solutions in China. Also in Singapore, we have around 20 local engineers to serve our local clients. And so far, our general market share in Singapore, I think, is #1. We have more than 250 companies using our solution, having been onboarded. So I think Glodon is absolutely one of your best partners who can grow with you together in the digital journey for the long run. Yeah, thanks for
Thank you
this
for that.
input. Yeah.
Thank you. I have another question, and here I'd like to pose it to Christina. Christina, you know that there are some bosses listening in today. So what kind of support you think bosses should give staff like yourself in order to use this technology? And how long did it take you to utilize or learn these tools?
Okay. First, traditionally I start off QS, okay, with very conventional way of measurement, on drawings. I need a lot of space to put drawings. So when I was asked to do QSing digitally, okay, my boss sent me to training workshops conducted by Glodon to train me on cubicle software, how to do quantification and reporting in their software. All in all, I take about 6 months to master the way how to use, how to import, and all the steps to do it. Yeah.
Right.
So
Thank you. We have another question here from the chat box. This is from Joseph Sim. Thank you, Joseph, for the question. The deliverables of BIM quality, level of information, exchange of information are dependable on the competencies of firms transforming the digital workflow. So yes, we are part of a larger group of team members who are developing all these BIM models. So in your opinion, who should be the lead appointed party responsible to deliver the information required for 5D BIM? Now, of course, this is during pre-tender stage, this is during post-tender stage. So who is going to be, in your opinion, the lead appointed party? Obviously you have the architects, the structural engineers, the MEP, mechanical, electrical engineers. Who should be the right person? Perhaps here I would like to pose it to Simon. What is your thought, Simon? Who should take the lead for this BIM?
Okay. There's no certain answer for it, in my opinion. Okay. In Malaysia, I faced many presentations to the client, and they actually want different things. Okay, so first of all, we need to understand what does the client want. Okay, there's pros and cons for different professionals to lead the team, the BIM team. So, but for my point of view, I think in the current market, I still think that it should be a individual BIM consultant, a separate BIM consultant to lead the whole process. Because the current professionals, like for example, architects, CNS engineer, M&E engineers, they already takes a lot of roles and responsibility for the designs. So I think the effort must be spread to the third party. So I personally think that individual BIM consultants and this party will actually be focusing purely just on how to manage all the information flow, to build up the model, to set up the modeling standards. And so if let's say each of the parties take their role, and BIM actually act like a PMC tool to me. It's a project management tool. So it should actually be separate compared to, from the designer roles as well. So this is my thought.
Right. Thank you for that. The next question I would like to pose to Chandra. Chandra, do you think it's good for QSs to know computational BIM? Do you think that's useful? Does it help them in their work? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Because from my industry experience, whenever a BIM model is passed on downstream, normally the architect would be the first one to come out with a design intent, and he will give it to the structural, mechanical, electrical, and of course QS. And as far as the architect is concerned, he is going to give his information, which includes what is the shape of the building, what is the size of the building, what sort of building components go in, whether it is walls, doors, windows, even including sometimes the information about materials which are a part of the building component, but not all the time, because again, this is also a part of the LOD, the level of development, right? So at the end of the day, when you talk about the QS will never get a model which he can take straight away and press a button and get the quantities or get the cost estimate. So there has to be an intermediate step. Now, I have been also discussing with other professionals and our BCA as well, because this is like a chicken and egg situation when the architect would say, I'm doing my model for the fees I'm being paid. Why am I doing QS work, right? So your question is very apt here, because if you get a model which is not suitable for your purpose, 100%, let's say it may be 60, 70, or 80% maybe sometimes, depends on the architect's friendliness and mood and time required to deliver the project, because nowadays the projects tend to be very complex. So if the QS knows a bit of computational design, which means using a data which has been given to you by somebody and customizing it, massaging it, or changing it to your requirement, then of course you can say I am also doing my part of the work in order to extract the quantity, get the estimation, BOQs or reports or specifications or whatever it is. So I believe it should be, I believe that the QS should also go in this direction, because my background is not QS. I'm an architect by profession. So nowadays the architects have also started learning computational design because they see the advantage. Instead of me producing one or two alternatives, I can produce hundreds of them because the computer can work 24/7, doesn't ask for an MC and so on. Yeah, that's my take.
All right, thank you. So real issues, real problems. Thank you very much, Chandra, for sharing some good thoughts on that. I move over to Andy now. Andy, what's your current thought on 5D BIM adoption in the market? What are the fail points? Why are people not adopting 5D BIM? When it's already happening in other parts of the world. And then what must we be aware of when we are embarking on digital hosting and management? Andy?
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Well, as I mentioned in my presentation, I think eventually the entire industry will reach full BIM design and delivery. So, but it is still the transitional period of for 5D BIM adoption in the market for now. My point of view is that we shouldn't wait for the maturity of it. Just like Chandra mentioned, maybe computational BIM is a choice. Maybe Glodon 5D BIM based on 2D drawing or based on the more mature models, not imperfect models, is also a choice. So long as your productivity can be improved, it would not be a drawback. And secondly, with regards to the fail points, first, I think it's the digital mindset and culture of your people. So this is the very first step for any transformation in any organization, because no matter how good your strategy is, eventually you have to realize it through your people. So how to motivate your people's digital mindset and build a risk-taking culture is the first key. And second, and thirdly, don't expect to cover all business workflows in short time, because you have to do it in phases. For instance, you could set your progressive goals for the digitalization of pre-contract stage and post-contract stage. Because sometimes when CEOs or top management go out to listen to some, attend some new technology seminars, so they want to cover all of their business flows. So, but for 5D BIM, we must be aware of it. Even for any digitalization, we must do it in phases. And finding a real technology partner with a strong and sustainable service capability is also very important, like I have just mentioned. Because there is not a perfect 5D BIM digital solution in the market for now. Even for Glodon, we are still refining and planning and further developing our existing 5D BIM solution. So digitalization should be an evolving process. So a real technology partner will grow with you together and accelerate the process of your digitalization. Okay, that's my input.
Right. So you can see that we have to grow progressively into this technology. You just can't jump in. I think sometimes clients ask a lot, but again, Glodon, and as Andy has given some very good advice, it has to be progressive. So, we hear him. We hope that we also adopt that, and I hope the bosses are listening as well. Right, we go back to Christina. Christina, what do you think is the mindset change when you go digital?
Okay. First of all, you have to think, putting aside all the papers, drawings, piles and piles of files aside. Everything you work on is on the screen, digital. So your mindset have to go along that line. Yeah. So this is the first thing that I have experienced when I embark on this software to work on my quality takeoff. Yes. So I find that it's very useful and in fact very fast. I have everything on the screen. I can put the drawings or the schedules, everything side by side, instead of like traditionally I have to open up the drawings, put everything all over the table. So the mindset had to be in that manner if you want to go towards digitalization. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for that. We have some more questions here in the chat box. Unfortunately, we may not be able to cover all the questions today. So we beg your pardon if we are not able to take all your questions. The next question comes from King An. I hope I pronounced your name right. King An has a question very specifically for Simon. Simon, you have shared that image that the BIM had combined the roles of both QS and engineers, right? That is in one of your slides, I believe. And in this case, these are totally different majors, different subjects in academia, in academics. Do you think it's easy to pick up in the aspect of a QS? What are your thoughts, Simon?
In my experience, compared to what we did during the conventional way, like using scale rule, or even we measure point to point from the AutoCAD, then we turn it into using cubicles to build up a model by ourselves as a QS. So I think the biggest challenge turning 2D into 3D is by practicing. So we cannot like depends on the 2-day or 3 days trainings, and then we come back and we did not practice anything on it. So I suggest if let's say we start with a live projects right after we attended the training. So I think this will help a lot. So it's not saying whether easy or not, it's whether the approach that we use to train ourselves on the softwares. Yeah.
Right. We have to come to the last question, and I would like Andy to answer the last question. Now, in the current practice, the industry is talking a lot about BIM integration, and I believe there's a lot of hurdles to cross, especially when we are integrating BIM models, right? So this has some relation to the earlier question to Simon as well. The information is normally never complete. That, from a lot of us working in the industry, we know. And QS is not part of that centric consideration. So what is your thought to help the QSs who are going to be using this BIM software?
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Well, my view is that BIM integration is not saying one design model incorporates all data. It would be also very heavy for a model to incorporate so much of design data, technical data, and cost data. So we don't even have such very higher configuration computers to run it if we put all of the data across the value chain in one model. So it is almost impossible to expect designers to put all QS-centric data in their design models, just like Chandra mentioned. Architects will ask why. I'm just paid by design fee. Why I should consider QS requirements or QS-centric data? So in such case, as a QS professional, we have two options. So the first one is to see how to interoperate with design models with an own BIM cost model, which is flexible and which is more flexible and under our own control. And the second option is how to create a standard modeling standard that can meet both designers and QS requirements. Like Simon has just mentioned, they are practicing it in their business operation as well. So, but this will take a longer time to address this multi-profession cooperation issues. Unless Simon's business, you are a BIM consultant, you can bridge different parties across the value chain. So otherwise, it would be difficult to build up such a unified modeling standard that meet both designers and QS. Yeah, but this will be the future. The industry definitely needs such modeling standard. Yeah, maybe for next 3 to 5 years, it will be more and more standard for the modeling standards. Okay, that's all.
Thank you very much, Andy, for your insight. Christina, Simon, Chandra, thank you for being part of this panel discussion. I pass the time back to Kimmy. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you all.
Well, it was such lively panel session. Thank you so much to our panel speakers, Mr. Chandra, Ms. Christina, Mr. Simon, Mr. Andy, and Prof. Daniel. Thank you for the wonderful, stimulating discussions. I believe all our audiences are very much enjoyed in this interactive panel session, just like me. So due to the time constraint for today, we will end this session here. As shared at the beginning of today's event, we'd like to introduce a new program to all our industry friends here. I shall pass the time to Mr. Joel, and he will share more on the Cubicos 5D BIM community. So Mr. Joel, please.
Yes, Kimmy. Can you hear me? Yep. So basically, the whole entire strategy for this 5D BIM community was actually decided by the Singapore management and also developed by Kimmy herself. So what happens is this whole 5D BIM QS community, since the beginning of the year, we have almost 750 over close to 800 members in the community since the beginning of this year. So what is this community all about? It's more or less, like you can see, is to provide a platform for QS, quantity surveyors, with professional and industry recognition, also to share experiences like what I mentioned in my welcome speech, right? The sharing of experiences, the knowledge, and how do we see in different views of going BIM or going digitizing our QS professional works, on a daily basis. So this whole community platform is whereby we can engage with our members online. We can share information, we can share events, we can, and sometimes there are surprises to be won. For example, the very recent Mooncake Festival, we have this surprise giving event whereby 10 of our members have actually won this Mooncake Festival free gift from Starbucks as well. So there is a lot of exchange of information going on. It could be an individual posting up his or her thoughts on BIM, sharing industry news, or even, for them to be able to share their work experiences. And maybe if you are a contract manager or if you're in the management, they may push up some of these job applications in this platform. And that's how we can stay connected in the midst of COVID-19 and in the future from here. So I go on to the next slide. Whereby it comes into the 4 points where it can improve the quantity and surveying competency, demonstrate BIM capability, sharing of industry experience, and keeping connected and stay up relevant. Okay, so if you could do me a very big favor, this screen will be left on for about 30 seconds. You can scan the QR code using your camera, like how you do your safe entry, right? For iPhone users, as a trick, you can double tap your camera and boop, it will be able to go into camera mode at the back of your, or you can just, obviously not use your safe entry app to scan. It will never work. All right, so go into your camera. So without further ado, I'll just leave it on for a short little while, and I'll pass it back to Kimi, whereby she will go through with you the plans or the key agendas in year 2021.
Thank you, Joel, that you have brought us a very good ending and a very good initiative. So taking this opportunity, we'd like to encourage all our friends to join our Cubicles 5D BIM community group to gain industry recognition, demonstrate your BIM capability, and stay connected and relevant. So before we come to the end of today's session, we'd like to flash our next year major events with everyone here today. So in Q1, we are going to have our yearly big event, which is Cubicles new product launch. Coming to Q2, we will have our second Singapore BIM QS contest. In Q3, we will see you guys again for the Go Digital Leadership Forum 2021. And yes, before we end the good year, we will have a new surprise event to meet everyone, Glodon flagship event. So stay connected with us, stay tuned for the upcoming activities. Now, coming to the end, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's session and found it fruitful. So please take 2 minutes time to just scan this QR code on the screen and complete the event satisfaction survey. We thank you for you taking time to join us today online and share your feedback with us. Once again, on behalf of Glodon Singapore team, we want to express our deepest appreciation to everyone who support us since our humble beginning in 2011. We truly appreciate your support throughout these years, and we really enjoy engaging with you. Ladies and gentlemen, so stay safe, stay connected, and we will see you really soon.
With future buildings being smart, the entire process of construction, as well as operation and maintenance, will also be smart in the future. Technological support, typically the IT technology, will enable us to work easily and live enjoyably at all the stages of buildings, including design, transaction, construction, operation, and maintenance. At the design stage, architects can make an intelligent analysis of the project location with the big data technology. carry out architectural design and scheme selection through the professional and efficient BIM technology. And directly communicate with owners and contractors remotely by using such technologies as internet and holographic projection to enhance work efficiency. Furthermore, architects can conduct a simulation of day lighting and wind environment with the BIM technology in a virtual space to determine an optimal scheme. In that virtual space, architects can also perform detailed design, collision checks on pipes and wires, multidisciplinary collaborative checks, and space coordination in order to detect problems in advance, reduce rework and lower costs. Besides, the direct application of big data, such as material prices and construction cost indicators and BIM models, makes it easy to take out quantities and estimate costs precisely. Finally, architects will develop the component-based design for implementing the prefabricated construction from production to installation. At the plant, technologies like 3D printing enable the mass production of building components, turning traditional construction workers into industrial workers. As a result, the traditional wet trades on construction sites will be replaced by integrated prefabricated building. At the construction stage, BIM-based 5D simulation of construction enables contractors to get control over project progress, constant changes, obtain fast access to plans of quantities, materials, and labor for optimizing resource allocation, controlling project costs in a timely and accurate way, and achieving lean management of projects. In combination with Internet of Things, mobile applications, and cloud technologies, contractors can perform green, lean, and intensive management of project progress, costs, personnel, quality, safety, and materials at construction sites in a monitor room to ensure that project objectives are realized in an effective manner and smart construction is achieved. At the completion stage, the BIM model has already integrated information and data from all the stages of construction, allowing owners and contractors to carry out settlement, acceptance, etc. in an intuitive way. At the operation and maintenance stage, the structure, equipment, services, and management of a building can be combined in an optimized manner as needed to offer an energy-efficient, comfortable, healthy, and human-oriented environment for residents. Furthermore, the thoroughly integrated BIM model will continue to work in repair, renovation, reconstruction, and extension, offering great convenience to owners and project teams. The in-building navigation system helps visitors to get real-time information about positions and routes. In the future, smart buildings will redefine the relationship between buildings and human beings, between buildings and the ecological environment, making our life and work more harmonious and better. Build intelligent future with technology. Glodon is looking forward to building the future of buildings together with you. Glodon, just for your blueprint.